So to start with, I'll give you a definition of innovation because that's a word that gets tossed around a lot in many different contexts. And so to me, innovation has three parts. The first part is new ideas, which is the part that kind of everyone understands. If you go to Amazon, if you look up books with innovation in the title, there's 90,000 of them, right? And if you start scrolling through those 90,000, what you'll discover is that every single one has a light bulb on the cover. That to me is really bad because what that is saying is that innovation is just about, I've had this great idea. But that's not sufficient, right? So yes, the idea is important, but the thing of it is that as humans, we're idea generating machines. That's what we do. So we have ideas constantly. So the actual issue is not, do we have ideas? It's, can we actually take them and make them real? Right? And so that's why I use the monkey wrench for this part, because that's where you have to get down and do the work. The other thing with a monkey wrench is that we throw the monkey wrench in the gears because often new innovations require us to change systems. And so it's not a smooth process to go from, we've had this idea, we've made it real, and now it's out there having impact. So new ideas made real. But the most frustrated people in the world are ones that have had a new idea, they've built it, they've sent it out into the world, and no one cares, right? Those people are enormously frustrated. And the reason often that no one cares is because they've skipped this third part, which is the ideas also need to create value for people. And so for me, to innovate, we need all three of these things. We need the new ideas part, we have to make them real, we have to create value with those ideas. So for me, innovation is new ideas made real to unlock value. That's a very broad definition. But I found it pretty useful in a bunch of different contexts. So that's what I'm talking about when I talk about innovation. So this is the thing that we run into. Like I mentioned earlier, the fundamental problem that we're facing is that most ideas are failing because they're not creating value for others, right? So having a really good idea is hard, but people do it all the time. Making it real, also hard, but we do it all the time. Connecting that idea to the people that it should serve is the actually really difficult part and the stumbling block. And so that's where we often fall over. So this is my fancy handmade Excel version of the data. And so if you look at what's going on in this area, these are all talking about a new idea that someone has made real and they've launched it, right? So if you're an established company and you launch a new product or a new service, the chances that it's going to succeed are about 18%. Right? If you're a startup and you launch as a new company, the chances that you're going to be around in 3 years is less than 10%. It's about 9%. If you're a researcher and you've done your work and you've taken out a patent, you can only get a patent if you have the idea and you can prove that it works. So we've made it real. The percentage, so this is actually being generous, the percentage of patents in use out in the world is about 1.6%. Right? So every red bar across there is a new idea that someone's made real that has failed. So the thing that I'm going to talk about for the rest of my time is how do we make the black bars bigger? Right? What can we do to actually address that question of value creation earlier in the process so that our chances of succeeding are higher? And this is the thing that we're usually missing is validation of the value that we're going to create for people. That's what we're going to focus on. If we go through this work, if we engage with stakeholders, if we understand what their needs, desires, and objectives are so that we understand how to create value for them, if we're an existing company, we can take that success rate from about 18% to well over 40%. The best commercial companies have new product success rates of 45 to 50%. And it's because they're engaging with stakeholders up front. Right? If you are a startup and you go through a Lean Launchpad program, which is the basis for all this work that I'm talking about, the success rate goes from about 9% to almost 30%. If you're a researcher and you go through one of these programs like the CSIRO ON program or something related to that, we've had impacts of greater than 10%. So we've taken those patents in use from 1.6 to 15 to 20%. Just by talking to people. Right? Talking to people is the most powerful technology at our disposal. And we don't use it enough.